How would you describe the current state of the animation industry, and specifically maybe related to the demand for animation nowadays, which I think we all kind of know, but we'd like to hear some perspectives on that. The difference between 2D and 3D content, certainly the type of difficulties that COVID crisis has presented. So you can roll it into that a little bit if you want in the production aspect of those particular models. Frank, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know you always have a lot to say about this and you think about these things a lot.
Sure.
So maybe I can get you started talking about what's happening.
Sure. Our existence depends on all of these issues, so I think about them a lot. As an animation production studio, it's a great time to be in animation. We're certainly as busy as we've ever been, and there's no shortage of animation projects for people to be working on in the industry right now. The VODs, Netflix being the leading video on demand service, have changed the landscape, like literally changed the landscape. So we're in a bit of a conundrum in that Netflix is now creating originals that they fully own. They also have a studio. So they're our client and our competitor. So we're in a market now where everyone is doing everything. And obviously we're the little guy and Netflix is the giant, 2,000-ton gorilla on the world stage operating in every market concurrently. And so we're trying to create content that is meaningful and that finds an audience just like they are. And we have to find our own path. We can't use the same tools and have the same expectations budgetarily or for quality. At the end of the day, we as artists obsess about the quality of the work, but at the end of the day, if a kid doesn't like the character in the story, they don't really care.
I mean, it's a healthy industry that we're in. I think
healthy industry,
kind of,
very healthy,
yeah.
But the challenge is getting new shows commissioned and owning those shows as creators and as producers so that we can partake in the international success.
It was right, Frank, say, as nobody watched the quality, nobody cared about the quality, the lighting, all this kind of stuff. But that's, I'm thinking, I'm going crazy sometimes because I don't understand why the last 2D Disney movie, The Princess and the Frog, that was already the time Disney want to move away from the 2D. They say it's because maybe the people looking for something more real. We want to push, we want to go a little bit away from the 2D and go to 3D because we need to have something more real. This is what really the kids want.
Vincenzo, you're bringing up something important though. You're bringing up the digital tools. It's amazing how much animation we can produce now. But yeah, the quality is always in question. I want to bring that in, if you could continue that into the idea of what just happened with COVID. The idea that we were forced out of our studios really for a while. And I know Frank for sure can relate to this. I'd like to hear though from some of the Italian studios. What is the positive of all this COVID that we just went through?
We were a little bit preemptive because we had different locations and different hubs creating different parts of the animation in different parts of the world. So we were constantly looking at tools in some sort of way of being able to operate still cohesively and synergetically, but being located in different places in the world. And then COVID hit, and it was almost like a lot of the preparation that we were making was for this. It really leaned upon the production support department as well, and making sure that we have a proper pipeline that works not only domestically, but an international pipeline that can work with all these different partners and different sectors, not only location, but time zone as well.
Has it offered any kind of opportunities to move forward in another way, like Peter was saying about making use of talent internationally?
What helped us was that we were ready to go in terms of international standards. We lost the human content in terms of creative moments.
I will go as far as to say, because there's a lot to unpack with and a lot that I agree with everybody on the panel. From a creative standpoint, I think it's probably, we'll look back at this as one of a very pivotal moment in the history of cinema for animation. The ability to, what it meant for COVID also just accelerated things. It accelerated what was already happening technology-wise and working together. I agree with the collaboration issues, but I also see a lot of extremely positive results of this, which, for instance, more independent filmmaking. And there's a lot of talent that has gone to the major studios that was only accessible to the major studios that I feel is more free to move around, and that's ultimately really good.
Thank you, Alan. You kind of wrapped it up and brought some really important points together from somebody that's actually, now going independent, and maybe you can speak to that a little bit more later. But Alan, vorresti dire qualche cosa? Would you like to say something?
In terms of opportunity, in terms of co-production, this moment is one of the best because it's safer to work in animation, because if you do live action movies, you can have a lot of problem about the set, the moment in which you have to shoot.
What makes for a good co-production?
Work with people that you like and respect. At the end of the day, that'll make a big difference.
It's very important to empathize. It's the empathy. It's very important to work on the human being part of work. Try to share the project from the stage, and it's possible also to work in bilateral way. For example, it's very difficult to do one co-production in which there is the main company and the secondary one in the other country, but you can also do a model in which you can exchange the weight of single production. I mean, in one production, I'm the leader because the property comes from my company, and at the same time, you can work to your project in the contrary way, balancing one time a pipeline for two outputs, for example.
I want to talk about my experience in Disney. It was something amazing. If you think, when we work, for example, in the movie like Tarzan, we spend time in the zoo drawing gorillas with all the team, and enjoy some of this kind of, we say, hand drawing and also live drawing. And the same thing when we work on Peter Pan, spend time on the galleon, old galleon in the bay there in Sydney to draw everything. So this kind of, opportunity to share emotion, creativity, and environments, ideas, and it's very difficult to do this now with smart working through the software and the tools you have.
What Vincenzo's saying, I can jump on what he's saying right away and talk about it.
Yeah,
when you're in screens, you're prescriptive. It's like, it's your turn. Now it's your turn.
Your turn.
Now it's your turn. And so you end up with this kind of slower, I mean, it's respectful, of course, but you don't get to bounce ideas like we're able
The
to do
immediacy
here,
is not
right?
there,
But so what we have to do now as artists is find a way to do that virtually, because we can't be in a room together.
I want to bring it to Alan. Alan, you're going to be the first one to comment on this last question, which is really moving forward. How do you see animation moving forward?
I'm jealous of the younger artists coming out into directing and writing and what the opportunities are, because your unique voice is now more than ever, I think, more important. And we're walking away, we have to remember, we're walking away from domestic American box office theatrical, and we are moving towards you can be big in a few countries. And that means there's an opportunity here that I would liken to the 70s film industry for artists. And I think that's the opportunity right now for animators and artists to really speak to, is they can find a way through streaming or the ways that they can express themselves. And all you have to do is look at the features that are coming out each year and the budgets, and also how closely they're getting to very personal stories. These were impossibilities even 10 years ago. I'll say Our Sound from Japan was one of the most exciting films last year and didn't get enough noise for how well it was. And that's pretty much some solo effort. So I'm very excited.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you. Yeah, there's some really beautiful films. Domi Shi's film that is right here in Toronto. Amazing stuff, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Red. Yeah, I love that. Anyway, so I want to go now to maybe, we'll go to the Italians. Italiani, Giorgio, Alan.
Two hats. The first one, as a director and a former animator, is that, yes, of course, I'm so jealous of the youngest, the new generation, because they can have access to everything and they can exploit their talent worldwide just with one click. And that's why it's very important for us to have a studio where people can express themselves and also be part of this creative, hub. On the other side, it's very important to understand the way the independent producers could work or will work in the future, because Platforms are great, but sometimes they consider you kind of service. So we need, as producer, to preserve the unique creativity we can provide, because if we cannot keep some rights, it will be a problem, because through rights we can reinvest, have money back from merchandising, rerun, TV rights. Basically, it's so difficult to stick out as a producer and not only as a talent. So good vibration on the creative side, because everybody can become a creator of a new show. Quite worried about the way the independent ideas can be improved in the future.
I think you said that for the future of animation, I think that it doesn't necessarily have to be centralized in one location. It doesn't have to be Hollywood. Now the tools and the technology allows it to be in a whole bunch of different territories. And if we're talking about a really far future, I know it may not be a popular opinion, but I read some great articles or journalistic articles that were machine learning. So it was just an AI that wrote that article. And I'm really curious if there comes a point, what kind of animated stories AI will tell. Like once the tools are there, what kind of jokes, what kind of gags, and what kind of stories is the next frontier?
Thank you, Peter. Thank you. Vincenzo.
What can I say? It's a great opportunity for young guys, for all the guys having the idea to bring up, and thanks to the explosion of the requests from the new platform and everywhere. And I think this is a lot of chance for the young guys. And we have an example with Giorgio in Zero Calcare. That's a typical, it's very good example at the moment.
This is like a time now when everyone we're swimming in the same waters. The paper and the pencil and the sharpener that was the medium of communication when we were side by side is now our pipelines. We have strong pipelines. We use them to communicate with people, and we use those tools to be beside someone in the way we would normally physically be beside them, and we draw with them, and we talk to them, and we get to know them, and that's how we create great work. But I think most of us are going to be working in this medium, and we're going to have to start to appreciate that there's value there as well.
Thank you, Frank. I want to thank you all for joining me here for this panel.